All righty. So for our April meeting here, we're going to have some topics to talk about, and that'll be a little welcome from Mike Francis, the regional volunteer partner for MassCare. We're going to also then talk about some regional updates that have come in the last couple times since we talked. Talk about some changes to reunification that are probably good for us to know, as there's now some regional responsibilities there. Then we're going to hand it off to Carolyn Burns because no one wants to hear me talk anymore, and we always like to hear Carolyn talk. And she's going to let us know about some updates to Skya, the shelter client intake application. And then we'll come back and Mike Francis, and I'm going to help him out if needs be, are going to walk through some slides from the National MassCare Call about how we can meet the needs of our community better. And that's a great application for both DAT as well as MassCare and sheltering. And then we're going to kind of wrap it up with a thank you and a request for some help. So that's what we got packed in for tonight. And with that, I will go ahead and advance it and let Mr. Francis take it away. Mike?
All right. Thank you, Chad. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Regional MassCare meeting. It's great to see so many faces on here. We've had a great couple of months since our last meeting. We're going to elaborate a little bit more on our Thunderbolts, but 75% of our Thunderbolts are done. We're looking great. We hopefully should have the next one done within the next 2 weeks and be completely done with that. And we'll elaborate a little bit more on some things that we're going to be doing after that. What I want to take a little snapshot here, I'm a visual person and a numbers person. So our regional snapshot, we have a total of 821 disaster volunteers in the Central and Southern Ohio region. That's 821. And of that 821, 302 are MassCare volunteers. That works out to a total of about 37%. So 37% of our workforce is in charge of MassCare, which is one of the biggest things that the Red Cross is tasked with doing, is providing MassCare for our clients. So something to think about. At this point in time, we always want to encourage people to bring their friends and partners and people that might be interested in doing some Great Red Cross work on board, and letting them know what you do and how you can help clients, because I'm a firm believer that we are our best recruits, going in and talking with people and letting them know what we do. Further on, when we get into the program, I'll have some more numbers. I didn't have time to get a pretty little slide up here with my pie chart, but that's a big thing. If you look at that, 37% of the workforce is dedicated to MassCare, which means they have a MassCare position.
Thanks,
We
Mike.
talked about the Thunderbolts a little bit. Now I'm going to pass it back off to Chad.
Appreciate that. I think it's a really important point that he makes about the fact that it's such a small percentage of folks that have a MassCare gap. So I really would like to encourage anyone to make sure you add that gap if you can, or find somebody who might be someone who really you think you would like to invite over to join the mission. So that's a really great pie chart to kind of help us with that. Thunderbolts. In case you've never heard of it, Thunderbolts are a thing that we have been doing throughout the year in different phases, and we entered our terminal phase of that over the last probably 90 days. I'm excited to say that the scores have been quite good. We have one more to go, and that's our friends in Miami Valley, and I am confident it will be a breeze and be awesome. A couple things it's told us along the way is that we definitely know how to shelter, and that's great. And we are there to show up when we know we have a thing that's going to happen. And one of the reasons we did this lean forward and a window and such is because our region and many other regions have never ever done a no notice drill, where that means there's no pre-notice. It's just a boom, it's happened. So that's why we did this very deliberate process to get ourselves through this year. Going forward, Ken has shared with us his desire to keep the process going with what he's calling Thunderbolt Light or Loki drills. I'm telling you that so you are understanding of That is coming. There will be more information coming out to you on that one. I'm on the planning committee for that with some people, and Ken's kind of given a soft approval of what he wants. I want to get some final pieces in, but we will gladly share that with you, the workforce, as soon as we have that. The basic gist, it will not be as crazy as we currently have it. So if, as things stand right now, it would be one trailer, not two. And there would be a little bit of a reduced factor of how many we would be doing at once. The goal will be to play in counties we have not played in before. So if we've already been in Franklin County, we would pull a drill in another county we haven't been in Central Ohio. So the goal is to be able to get out through many, many counties and proof of concept. So that's why you're going to hear renewed interest from the disaster program staff and the chapters of getting our shelters tidied up and making sure we have at least one per county. So there's the why behind that, just so you know, and there's what's going on. I do know that one small factor that's not really a big change for anyone on the call, but will be for the program staff, is that we've been in the Thunderbolt world having me, by the national standard, identify the shelter and pre-select and make sure we can get into that shelter on the day of the Thunderbolt. And the desire from Ken and others is that we will, in the new world of the new Beyond Thunderbolts, be having that be, again, a no notice drill where we task that to the program manager in the moment. So whenever the Thunderbolt occurs, bang, we have flooding in this county. Then it's going to be up to the program manager and program staff to locate the shelter based upon what's in WebEOC, that we actually know we've got a shelter there, and then they will direct from there. So it will get a little tiny bit harder, not a whole lot crazier. And the whole goal here is very simple. It's not about the numbers. It's not about a metric. And I can say that being somebody who understands metrics and likes to do that a lot, right? This is not about a metric. It's about making sure that we know we can show up in any county whenever the community needs us, and that we're so polished on it that everyone can just function like clockwork. So it's not punitive. It's nothing crazy like that. I guarantee more will be information will come out about it, but I know that name, Loki Drill or Thunderbolt Light and stuff, has started to leak out around the region. And I wanted to at least take the opportunity, since I have you all right here, to explain what it is at the broad level so that you didn't think anything was being kept from you. So I do want to say we've done fantastic work with Thunderbolts this year. We've gotten some pretty incredible scores. I'm thrilled about that. We have had a lot of our partners take notice of the fact that they have renewed support and renewed faith in the Red Cross, that we can show up and shelter in that county if there's a need. And one of those is Clinton County. Tom Breckel sent a very, very nice note. He's the Clinton County EMA director, praising the Cincinnati Tri-State team for their fast work during the drill, and said he has a renewed faith and support. And that's kind of what we're looking for, is that a lot of different things like partner support, making sure our folks are really polished and that we have those mechanics in place. So hats off to all of you for helping out with this. And again, we have one more to go, and I am beyond confident that Miami Valley will knock this out of the park. So there's that. Mass care strike teams. So we've thrown this word around an awful lot in the last probably 2 years. And I want to kind of bring some finality to it. One of the cool things what we knew was going to happen when we had the window, the time frames and windows for Thunderbolt, is we were able to roster volunteers who would be able to come and do that at the beginning of a 2-week window. The reason we did that, unlike other people in the country, we did that because the most likely scenario in our region for a disaster that would occur that would need 3 100-person shelters would be a weather event, and we'd have noticed it was coming. It would not be just boom, there it is. So that's how we got to the idea of rostering. And you'll notice that when we have these lean forwards, they reach out, the program staff reach out and try and see who's available. In the Loki or Thunderbolt Light world, we're acknowledging that our most substantial risk is not weather. Our most substantial risk is a multifamily fire, apartment fire, where 15, 20 people are displaced. So with that being said, there's going to be a renewed interest in what's called fiscal year 27. So that starts in July, to really come back to this and come back to some regularity and let each chapter program staff kind of make their own decisions with the volunteers based upon some guardrails, such as you need to make sure you've got at least a shelter SV and 2 shelter SAs that you can call overnight, or can call on Sunday at 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever, because right now all of ours have been happening during the day. So it's giving us a little bit of a different view, slanted view of what we can do. So you'll probably hear more from your program staff. I'll be talking more about that with them in their healthy program check-ins in April. So you'll probably hear more about a conversation of, hey, what's that look like? No one is saying right now it needs to look like a DAT schedule where it's set shifts and such. We're gonna give very guideline approach from the region as to, here's what we want to have happen in broad strokes, and then let each chapter hone in what works. So like if you're an Echo, they may very well say, what works really well for us is a North and a South team. So be it. If you're in Central Ohio chapter, maybe it's a different way. So no one's going to hardwire that, as long as we can be there to get the job done with our clients and make sure that we're there when people have a bad day. So that's the mass care strike team piece of it. Reunification, we're going to talk about a little bit later on, but there have been some changes. They have moved into the web EOC system for the casework side of it. But I'm thrilled to announce, after they've turned off Safe and Well and we had a couple little missteps, they have now turned back on a feature that is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all year long, that if someone is missing their loved one, they can log right into the Red Cross site. I'll talk more about that here shortly, and put in a request for a seeker. And when that happens, it actually will now come to the region. And the region will then take that on, unless there's a DRO, in which case the DRO will do that one. I mentioned that, as we'll talk more later on, there is a renewed need for more people who would like to become part of the reunification team. That does not mean you have to deploy outside of the region. Certainly it's an option to you. But if you would be willing to and interested in learning more about that, or taking the service associate classes to actually help out here in the region, we would love to have you. So more to come on that. Feeding and canteening. So there is a renewed focus on getting our feeding agreements taken care of. They are not scary. Do not let your friends fool you around the country. We have a more measured approach. We don't have to do these multi-page contract-like forms. All we're doing is finding local feeding vendors that locally. They can be mom and pop places, they can be wherever, as long as they're a commercial kitchen, that can provide us with food, either fast food or restaurant food or even catering, when the time comes. And it's a simple form we fill out that says who we call at 2 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday when we need something. And it lets them know what prices we're looking at and such, just so we can plan and prepare and help our clients. So if you're interested in that, please reach out to your program staff, because they have a deep need to get those things done by the end of the year. And we would love to have you be involved in that. So that's incredibly important. We can say we have a pretty great partnership that Mr. Francis and I and others have just finally solidified with the Southern Baptists. They have some quick response trailers here in Ohio. So should we have a true disaster of a larger proportion than just a multifamily fire, we now have access to that. And it even paid off non-feeding wise. In the shelter we recently had in Central Ohio, we were in a shelter that had no showers. We were able to borrow the Southern Baptist shower trailer. So great partnership there, and I'm thrilled to announce that. And we definitely would like more people to hop up and see if they can help us out with feeding. Canteening wise, just know that the more we get information, the more I will share it with you. Canteening is not going to ever go away, from the standpoint that it's a great tool for us to support our partners like fire department, such, when we can. But canteening is not like a first priority for us. So we have to be a little more measured about that one, and also making sure that we're using appropriate meals. So if you're going to start hearing more from your program managers about what's an appropriate meal, understand no one is trying to dog anyone. It's about us understanding what feeding agreements we've got now in the chapter, and knowing what our available resources are, and then canteening as appropriate. So definitely worthwhile. We have herbs for a reason. We can use those for canteening. We certainly would prefer that. Or even if you're in another area that doesn't have an herb, there's nothing wrong with us getting you started off with your Red Cross vehicle or your Red Cross team, and then we bring something else to you. So more is coming out on that one, but canteening is not going away anytime soon, but it will be used as a tool for our partner engagement, not necessarily a first line approach to what we do in mass care. And then last but not least, there are some updates about sheltering. We know we have our shelter trailers now settled down, which is great. More is coming on that. They're doing really, really well. I love the fact that I'm seeing more volunteers get engaged with it. But I will also say that we have pivoted as a country and as an organization away from paper. And that's why we have the SKYA system, which is going to dovetail nicely into what Mrs. Burns is going to talk about. And that is why you're not seeing these paperwork boxes and such like you used to. The only paperwork we actually need in a shelter now is the sign-in, sign-out sheet, which is not a registration form. That is the line sheet where someone signs in to say, I'm in the building to get food or client casework, or I'm a client, but I'm going to be going in and out. That is our safety mechanism to know if there's an emergency, how many people are in and out of the building. So we should have a sign-in, sign-out sheet. We should also have one for visitors and for staff. We also can print off, and more is coming from us. We're doing that for you, but you can print off the welcome handout that is on OneSource that simply reminds everyone of our shelter rules. But we are no longer allowed to, and we are forbidden from doing any kind of extra categorizing of people's names. So we are no longer allowed to like write down people's names on pieces of paper or on tablets of paper, or to do registration on paper or any kind of paper forms in any way, shape, or form. All intake for casework is done in RC Care, so we're not allowed to write anything down for that. And all intake for dorm registration is done in SKYA. And the difference there is that if they're staying with us overnight and being assigned a cot, then they would go into the SKYA system. If they're not staying overnight, they're just coming to get information or have a meal or a shower, they're just signing in and signing out on a sheet. So it really slims down the amount of paperwork we need. So a lot of the old ways we used to do things are no longer true. So more is coming out on that one, but really, truly, we're pivoting off to that SKYA system pretty hard across the country. So I want to make sure if we have any situations that we're not trying to default to paper. And I'll come back to some questions on that here shortly. Certainly the chat is open as well, and I'm here for you to answer any questions. So I'll say reunification real quick, and then I want to get through this to then make sure that Mrs. Burns has a lot of time to talk about SKYA. Reunification is where somebody is missing or can't find a loved one. That can be a family member, a coworker, a relative. They can't find them because they believe they have been impacted by a disaster. So we now have that system that internally all of our casework is done in WebEOC, but that external side is where people can get in at any point in time and log that they're looking for someone. That mechanism of how you're looking for someone will start a case opening. So we don't have to do that part anymore, but we still will be using that helper tool, that Excel-based type form, to ask our clients at a service delivery site or a shelter or a reception center, if someone's looking for you, do you wish to be found? And if the answer is yes, we're logging the information called for on the helper tool and then uploading that so that our folks in reunification can help find people that are being sought. It's also can become part of our broader statewide initiative. So this is a national system they're doing. However, in the state of Ohio, the Red Cross is one of the key components of the reunification system. And there is now a broader initiative across the country and across the state of Ohio, especially, to make a better system so that if a disaster strikes, when the flood of 911 systems is coming and people are trying to seek people, that we can point them to an area to register and to more efficiently, as a collaborative tool, know who's in hospitals and who's being sought and who's in our care and custody, and make that taken care of. So if you like anything I'm saying, you're intrigued, or the next couple slides, please reach out to me. My information is right there on the screen, except for I totally spelled my own name wrong. That's hysterical. So it's Whitaker. I should type slower. Or it's Doug Studebaker. So there's that information for you. Just a quick little preview now that they've done it. If you ever want to go to redcross.org/find, you'll find a form that looks like this. And it just simply has basic information. It takes about 2 minutes to fill out, which means probably 10 if you're distraught, but it's very straightforward. People are using it right now. I know there's a case in Northern Ohio that came in as well, so I know it's being used.
Hey,
And
Chad,
that, go ahead.
all we're seeing is the slide. Are you showing us a form?
It's the picture right there on the slide, sir. Do you see where it says your information on it?
I do not. I see regional updates.
That's interesting.
I'm seeing it okay, Chad.
Okay,
I'm
maybe
also
there's a little
seeing
bit of
it
a
okay.
lag, so I apologize. I will make sure also I made a handout for everybody too that I can send after this. So I appreciate that, Carolyn. Michael, I appreciate the heads up on that one.
Okay,
It's a
that was
very simple.
operator error. I'm sorry. We're good.
It's okay. It's a very simple Juvari form. Juvari is the company that makes WebEOC. It's straightforward, it's honest, it's simple, and I love it because that will dump into the system. And then on our side of the world, we're just taking that information of who's being sought, and then the basics of what their last birthday, their last known location, and then we will begin to try and find that person and help them out. So if you're interested in if you're interested in reunification, please reach out to me. If you have any other questions before we get into Skya, I am happy to answer any questions you have so far on regional updates or reunification. You can come off of mute. You can put them in chat. I'll give it a quick little 5 count to make sure everyone's got what they need. I see Bev is awesome. She would like to help out. I'm going to take you up on that. Thank you. Any other questions at all on reunification or on regional updates?
Hey, Chad.
Yeah, good.
How do we, or can we get access to the web EOC? And if so, how do we do that?
So WebEOC is only going to be accessible for folks on a disaster operation unless if you're going to be part of the reunification team, then I'm able to get you access to that reunification board. So the key thing there is you need to take the classwork to become a reunification person, an SA class, and then we can then work to get you that ability to get into WebEOC, and you would be able to help us out with our casework on that one. There's not a broad ability to get into WebEOC. Here's the why on that, just so that everybody's aware. It's because of the fact that there is a cost associated with our licensure on the number of accounts, is my understanding, at least what I was told. So they are diligent on how many Blue Sky accounts they give out. But if you're interested in that, please reach out to me and we can absolutely work on that. But that's a great question. Thanks for that one. Mr. Burns, go for it.
You mentioned about, and I'm not sure because you narrowed what you wanted to hear about, the forms printing. And so who's supposed to do that? Is it going to be printed and put on a trailer? Or is a person who gets designated the shelter manager supposed to bring all the different kinds of things like the inventory form, the shelter log, the manager's log, the visitors form, the staff's sheet, rules?
So
what about the guidelines for pets?
Yeah, what I can tell you at this point in time, Dave, is that each chapter, this will be a program staff question, each chapter is going to simply have the sign-in, sign-out sheets that are needed, and those will be in a simple go kit at the chapter. We are not placing them on the trailers because trailers, we know, get there within 4 or so hours, but you can open up a reception site within 2 or even under 2 hours. So these will be a simple go kit that the chapters will have, and they can certainly place more around if they want to, or if people are shelter supervisors and wish to have their own kit, they're welcome to print out those sign-in, sign-out sheets that are on the web. That's the client sign-in, sign-out, the staff sign-in, sign-out, and it also can print out, if they'd like to, a welcome handout, and you can also use the Red Cross printers if you'd like to go in and do that. But there's not a wide selection now to be doing the shelter log forms in that way because shelter daily reports now are being done in Skya, and we are still seeking guidance on what the shelter log looks like in the new world. But the only forms you need at this point in time are those 3 types, and I would have you reach out to your program staff and ask what their plan is for that one, and that also is something I'm bringing up to them as well to ask them. I can certainly help print them off. I have no problem with that. But each chapter can kind of figure out, do they want to have one, for example, if I'm East Central, I may want to have one in Marion, I may have one in Newark, maybe I want to have one in Norwich. So I want to see how they would like to do that.
So is this something that you've discussed with the chapter people already? Because when I asked the questions, I wasn't getting the kind of answers you just gave me.
So I have actually talked to them about it. However, like I said, we have a monthly healthy program checkup, and that's coming up for April. And that is also on that list for them. So I would do that piece of it. That actually, so it shouldn't be anything new. We made that change actually about a year ago when they came out with Skya. We got a lot of that paperwork was removed and a lot of that information was put out. So apologies for anyone that has not heard that, but that's kind of where we are. And that's keeping with national standards, not anything that we made up in the region.
So, yeah, I guess the only thing we knew is that a lot of stuff got thrown away. That we never told what the alternative was.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't know a whole lot that was thrown away. I know some things were repurposed, but we also had a lot of stuff that we were understanding at the regional level have been discarded many, many years ago because it was no longer national standard. So I know that there was when we were finding stuff, I know that a lot of stuff was getting moved as well. So more to come, but I really appreciate your question on that. Any other questions? Go ahead.
Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions at all? All right. Without further ado, Carolyn Burns, take it away.
Thank you. So tagging on to what Chad mentioned earlier about Skya, Skya is the record of system for registering clients. And I will mention that if you get into a shelter situation where you have no connectivity to the internet or you have no devices where you can register clients, such as a tablet or a laptop or a cell phone, the thing for you to do is to contact your supervisor. Do not try to come up with alternate solutions. Just contact your supervisor, let them know what's going on, and let that go up the chain and let them decide how they want you to handle it. And the important thing to remember is not everybody that walks through the door of a shelter has to be registered. As Chad said, if they are sleeping overnight in the dormitory, yes, they should be registered. If they're coming in to charge their cell phone and they're going to grab lunch while they're there, no, they do not need to be registered. They're not going to sleep in the dormitory. If they're sleeping overnight in their car in the parking lot because they don't want to bring their dog inside the shelter, no, you're not registering them either. So there's very strict limitations as to who we do register in Skya. And because it has become the system of record, the national team wanted to make it more user-friendly. So if you're familiar with Skya at all, you'll know when you log into Skya, the first thing you see are those nice little square blue tiles in the middle of the screen. With this new release that's coming out next week, those tiles are gone. We're moving to a more user-friendly interface, and the main highlight of that interface is the improved navigation of screen to screen, field to field, that type of thing. On Friday, tomorrow, the sandbox for this new interface will be released. If you log into Skya now, you'll see a big yellow banner across the top of the screen. Whether it's the training system or whether it's the production system, you'll see that banner, and it tells you what's happening, when the update's going to occur, and gives you some other information. So you want to be sure and read that banner if you log in and you see that at the top of the screen. Like I said, the sandbox will be released tomorrow. On the screen here that Chad is showing, you see the login web address for Skya, and the sandbox is the same with -training at the end. So when you're logged in, at the top of the page, in the very center of the page, if you're in the training system, you will see training. If you're in the production system, you will see the word production. And like I said, the major highlight is the navigation. The little blue tiles are gone, and you now have a menu on the side, and I'll show you that here in just a minute. The improved functionality we had some issues with the way Skya was working when it synced from WebEOC. Previously, if a shelter was closed in WebEOC, sometimes the syncing between it and Skya was not always in sync, and those things have been improved. Also, the last bullet item there on the screen, talking about the extended displacement assessment and the dashboards being updated. There, if you log into the National Operations Summary dashboard, and if you click on the left-hand side of the screen where the menu is, if you click on Disaster Current Operations Report, it will bring up a list of sub-items that you can select. And one of those sub-items is Skya Operational Dashboards. And under that, there are, I think, about 7 or 8 sub topics underneath that. There's active shelter meal orders and meals. There's shelter reporting and counts, referrals, transportation requests. So there's dashboards for each one of those things. So if you're involved at all in sheltering and are interested in seeing how those things are tracked, if you can log into the national dashboard, you can see those sub-menus. We can go to the next screen, please. So these are some of the fixes that are happening with this release that's coming out next week. There's just a variety of bugs and things that have been improved. I'm not going to read through each one of these. You can kind of glance through them there on the screen. Some of the issues that we were having, if a shelter was closed in WebEOC, something would get hung up in the background coding and it would not close the shelter in Skya, and it would not remove the shelter from the public facing map. And those things have really been worked on because they were right at the top of our list of things that were driving us crazy. I got the opportunity to participate on the testing team for this new release, and we went through a lot of those bug fixes and verified that they've been corrected. So I'm happy to say that this list of fixes is, we're really looking forward to that. So if we can go to the next screen, I'll show you what the new interface looks like. This is what's called the home page. This is just a picture, so we can't click here and move around. But I wanted to show you the picture. You'll notice in the center at the top, I captured this picture from the test team's QA system. You would never see quality assurance at the top of your screen when you log into the sandbox or the production system. That's where you would see training or you would see production. On the left-hand side, where you see the word home, those are all menus. If you click, we're in the system and clicked on any one of those carrots there, you would see subtopics under those menu items. If you would click on clients, you would see a subtopic, new clients, existing clients, transfer clients. That's where all your little tiles have moved to, the menu on the left. At the top of the screen on the left, you would always see your disaster name and your shelter name, and you would have the opportunity there to click change shelter, and you could move between shelters. Again, the interface, the home page, the navigation is the main change in this release. Once you get into the screens themselves, if you click on new client and that screen opens up, you'll recognize it immediately. It's the same as it was in the old system. The pages, the format may adjust according to what device you're on. If you're on a tablet or you're on a laptop, this is what your screen would look like, your home screen. If you're on a phone, you will have up in the right-hand corner a little square box. It looks like a little box of lines, your normal menu box. You would click on that to open the menu on the left side. And that menu on the left side would then overlay part of this home screen. You would select what you want from the menu. When you found what you want, then you would go back up to the corner in the right and you would click the menu button again, and that would cause the menu then to go back to its original location. So it's kind of dependent on the device that you're on, what you'll see. Like I said, the screens are basically the same and you're going to recognize them as soon as you see them. It's mostly the navigation and the tiles being gone. And we go to the next slide. The Skya Toolkit on OneSource is just a wealth of information. There is a short video out there now. It's new. It's just been out there for a couple days. And it's only about a 4 to 5 minute video, and it goes through exactly what I just talked about. It's a live video where they maneuver through the screens and show you exactly what they look like. So take a few minutes to go out and look at that video, and the link is here. Chad sends out this slide deck. You would be able to click on these links. There are other overview videos for shelter workers. If you're new to Skya and you're not familiar with a lot of this, there are videos out there for you to start from square one and learn everything there is to know about Skya. And a lot of people have questions about the access to Skya. Who can access the system? And the last link there, the access overview, explains the gap that you need to have to access Skya, whether you're in Blue Sky, whether you're on a DRO, exactly what areas of WebEOC and Skya you would be able to access. And of course, if you ever have questions, sheltering at redcross.org is the place to go. Also, questions on WebEOC, there's a WebEOC support group, and my group Frost at redcross.org also supports Skya. So I know there's, I can hear dings, and I don't know if there's things coming into the chat, but Chad, I'll let you take it from here.
So, so just some things from Mr. Burns to mention for Thunderbolt. So I will read through those here shortly. Any questions for anybody on Skya at all? Anyone at all?
Yeah, mine doesn't have anything to do with Skya.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Burns. I appreciate it. I'm thrilled this actually worked out because, of course, they pulled this in the middle of our windows, and we were all a little terrified it would change over right in the middle of this and it would affect people's Thunderbolts. So I appreciate that. I will read through what was put in chat here in a little bit, but I'll come back to that. I would like to have Mr. Francis come back on, and I'll click slides for him and help him out as needed. But I want to present the information from the National Mass Care Call about how we can better prepare to shelter in our areas and be better stewards of how we can get our clients where they need. Michael?
Thank you, Chad. This is a slide that slide information that we pulled off of the National Mass Care Call, like Chad had mentioned earlier. And these were the 3 presenters that talked about it and contact information. And their section, as you can read, there's addressing community needs of the community for sheltering. And more specifically, like Chad had mentioned earlier, we want to know our communities. We want to know what our clients' needs are. A couple of places where you can find this information is talk with if you're not involved in DAT, disaster action teams, talk with your disaster action teams and find out what kind of communities, what kind of ethnicity groups you have in your communities, in your chapters. Chad said he found out something interesting when he was in a training earlier this week or last week, that there was a population that he wasn't aware of. And now we need to work on making sure that we can communicate with this population. If we have people that show up to our shelters, if we have clients that show up to our shelters, or even on our feeding runs, or our distribution of emergency supply runs, we want to make sure that we can communicate with our clients to meet their needs, to find out what they are. Next slide, please. And Chad, feel free to jump in if I miss something.
You're doing fine.
One of the easiest ways, and I'm going to cannibalize engaging Latino and diverse populations, because some of this information that they're talking about comes straight from this. One of the easiest ways to learn your communities is to get out there in them. Interact with the community, go to community meetings, go to civic meetings, find out what kind of groups you have in your communities. Some of the religious and cultural beliefs and practices of these groups, because everyone's welcome into our shelters. And one of our big things is we want to make sure that we are providing a safe and secure and comfortable location for our clients when they come in. The only way that we're going to know to do that is to find out some of their cultural beliefs and cultural activities. Next slide, please. We do have translation activities that everyone should be aware of. One of the big things, and if you had anything to do with the Thunderbolts, I've been involved with 3 of them, and it always amazes me that people look at some of the signage that we put up and go, oh my goodness, look at all those languages. The signages that we put up for the Thunderbolt activities for our shelters are in, I think, 12 or 14 different languages. We have those capabilities to print those languages off. If you have access to OneSource, you have the capabilities of pulling a PDF up of that flyer of that signage. If you're in a sheltering situation and you're met with someone who is using a language that you're not familiar with. We also have interactive interpreter apps on our phones. I haven't found one really that works well for American Sign Language. And this came up during one of the Thunderbolt activities, as someone had mentioned that and asked the question about an ASL, American Sign Language interpreter, or an app that translates. I haven't researched and found one that works really well.
Next Hey, slide. I'll hop in real quick for you on
Sure.
2 things, and then to move forward on that one. I will have to get with our disability integration folks. I don't remember the exact name of it right now, but there is an app that will allow you to do sign language.
Nice.
And we had it on our disability integration iPads at one point in time, but I have to figure out what that is. But it exists, but it's also one of those things we have to make sure people know how to use. But I was going to mention, even as basic as Google Translate is, when I was in Tennessee for the Moore tornado, we were handling a lot of non-congregate shelters at that point in time, and we were trying to place people. And I had 4 or 5 people that spoke very different dialects of Arabic that I certainly do not speak. And I was able to text with them very easily with Google Translate between what I'm trying to say to them and such. It went really, really well. So even that basic system that you have on your phone is still a godsend. So don't forget to use the resource you have out there. And I'll flip to the next slide and let you keep going there, Michael.
Thank you, Chad. And here are some resources that are listed. We do have access to a interpreter's line. on-demand services. The bottom section of the slide talks about best practices.
Sorry.
There we go. Oh no, you're fine. It brought up a good point there that we can look at. Yeah, I'm not going to be one of these people that reads to you. If you look right there, it talks about a video interpreter for VRI, our American Sign Language. So that answers one of the questions that we were looking at. And if you're if you haven't looked at the Everyone is Welcomed video lately, it wouldn't hurt you to go in and just play that video. It addresses how to communicate with, and it breaks some of the norms that people do, not necessarily to be disrespectful, but one of the biggest things is if you walk up to someone and they are visually impaired, you would be surprised the number of people that will raise their voice and speak louder to people that are visually impaired. Just a couple of things to look at and a couple of things to prepare you to provide a better service to our clients. Okay, Chad? Another list of resources.
We used to, back in the day, we used to have these out, and I'm sure Dave can tell you as well, and in pretty much every chapter trailer and such, we found a way to print them, and it kind of looks like this, these visual translators.
Yep.
Right now it sits with our DI folks, which is Shannon and O'Neill and those folks as well, to get a final approval, but it is my intention to get them for every chapter, and then we can work with trying to figure out where to get them, whether into that box that Dave talked about, which I am totally a fan of. We just got to make sure we get the right stuff in it, as well as maybe in the trailers. So more to come on that, but this is a really, really great resource. And they even have like a phone model for your iPad or your phone that also walks through. And I'll go back to you there, Michael.
And back in the day when I was operating shelters, I've actually used this resource here when we had some Vietnamese clients that we were providing shelter for. Vietnamese is just a language that we didn't get a whole lot of translation for in Eastern North Carolina, but sure enough, we had a flooding situation, and I wound up with about 60 fishermen that didn't speak any language, but we were able to communicate with these visual flashcards here. They worked out great. Next slide, chat. And they're two-sided. This information should be on one source where you can go and do a little bit of research and look for that information. If not, reach out to Chad and I, and we will work through our mounds and mounds of paperwork and see what we can find.
Yeah, there it is. I mean, I can't ever say enough. I know a lot of people don't like to have to search around on one source, so I hear you. There's a lot of great stuff on there about with these translators and things. But if you just don't want to search around, I'm happy to be your Google. If you just want to drop me a note, I text really well, by the way. If you send me an email and you're like, why has he not gotten back to me? And it's been a day or so, I'm not ignoring you. I've just obviously gotten waylaid by the email box again. So you're welcome to call me, text me, call Michael. We are happy to get the link, the direct link to what we're talking about for you and send you that link so you can look at it yourself, or they now have an option in there that you can actually make it a PDF. So we could actually just grab it off the one source for you and send you the PDF. So we want you to be as informed as you want to be. A lot of that changeover as we start talking about words like cadre management, don't really know what that looks like yet, but the idea here is very simple. How do we lift up the workforce that is you to be the most successful you can be for our clients? So that's a big piece of what Michael and I are doing. And that's why you're hearing a lot more from Michael and other volunteers now on these calls. And I'm really happy to say that. Kind of takes us right into our next slide, which thank you, Michael, for talking about that one. Michael needs help. Michael is one person. And as much as I like presenting to you guys and teaching and such, I know that my voice is not the only thing you want to hear. So if you are interested in project work, and project work can be like, hey, I want to help with some regional feeding agreements, like call a caterer and get them on the phone and answer a few questions. So something that takes like a week of your time, and that's a couple hours out of your week, I have options for you. Michael and I have options. If it's something where you want to help put together every other month the PowerPoint for this, or find speakers, we can do that. If you're interested in maybe something a little more long term with the region, please reach out. I know a lot of folks out there already do 50 things with the Red Cross, and I get that, and I don't want to keep a burden on you, but I will absolutely take whatever help you're willing to offer, and I really am grateful for that. Even like I said, if it's just a to Dave's point, I about the shoulder boxes and such, or the printing off of these things. If it's somebody that's interested in giving me a couple hours, I will come set them up at a Red Cross office with the files and let you print some stuff. We can figure something out. But whatever you're willing to offer, I'm willing to take to make sure we're all successful. So please just reach out. I really appreciate that. Kind of speaking of appreciation, we kind of get on to our thank you. Thanks for attending. I mean, I'm thrilled. We had 25 people on here. Everyone's starting to sign off now all of a sudden. Good.
Hang on, I got a couple of questions or a couple of comments on the help needed before we get to the thank you. And just bear with me here, folks. I'm a numbers person, and like I said earlier, I just want to throw out a few numbers just so it'll sink in. In our region, it's 48 counties in Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana. All right, we have a total population of 6.4 million. 6.4 million people. Of that, less than 1%, actually less than 1/3%, are Red Cross disaster volunteers. If you remember from the earlier slide, we had a total number of 821 disaster volunteers. And of those 821 disaster volunteers, this is speaking a lot towards the supervisors that are on here, and also about logging your hours. We've had 23% of that 800 plus people have shown engagement in the last 30 days. 43% have shown engagement in the last 60 days. 50% of that population, 400 plus, have shown engagement in the last 90 days. So there are things that we can be doing as a mass care group, as mass care supervisors. Reach out to your regional and your chapter leadership to get people involved. Thank you very much, Paul. Paul says 47 counties. Reach out to your chapter and regional leadership to find things to do, to have things to do. An engaged workforce is a happy workforce. And how are we going to be better prepared to meet the needs of our clients? One other number, and then we'll get on to the thank yous. Just throwing this out as well. We have 119 people who have a IRV or specialty track qualification. Let those numbers sink in. By all means, do not forget to log your meeting time hours if it is not automatically logged for you. And remember, anything that you do with the Red Cross is a loggable hour, which helps us, the organization. All right, Chad, we can move on to the next slide now. I'm going to step off my soapbox.
You're fine. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I just want to say thanks to everyone for attending. I saw it was funny. As soon as I said thank you, I saw 2 people drop off the call right away. That's why I laughed real quick. I get it. We appreciate your time. Michael and I and Carolyn and everybody appreciates the time you take to come out for this. We're going to start doing this, kicking it off in July with every other month. So the regularity, the quarterly thing wasn't enough time. It got hard to predict. So what you're going to get from us is starting in July. That'll be our next one of these, and kicking off the year or our fiscal year. And then you'll see every other month, and we'll have more details coming out. We'll see more of these Volunteer Connection emails starting to roll out to remind you to sign up. and we definitely want you to be engaged. So reach out as often as you can. Let us know how we can help you or how you want to like to help us, and all is good. That's all we have for tonight. I'm here for any questions you got, and thanks for your attention.
Good night.